Here, you can exercise your rights to freedom every day without leaving your home. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stay in City way.
Good afternoon and welcome to Real Talk on SABC3, where the stage is yours. Black Friday has become a highly anticipated event in South Africa's shopping calendar. Every year, retailers look forward to getting more and more customers through their shops by radically reducing prices on a selection of goods. On this day, customers go through long queues to get the best bargains on offers from electronics, furniture, clothing to household goods, with some waking up very early in the morning to be the first in line. There are many conflicting reports on the history of this global phenomenon, but South African consumers are not too concerned by the history of this American trend, but are more interested in the slashed prices. Today's episode looks at the country's spending patterns during the festive season, and later on we'll focus on responsible financial management and getting out of unnecessary debt. My first guest is no stranger to Real Talk. The last time he was here, we were talking about the country's saving habits during the National Savings Month, and there's no better period to bring him back than now, as more people are thinking about spending rather than saving. He is the acting CEO and chief strategist for the South African Savings Institute, an independent non-profit organization dedicated to developing a robust culture of saving in South Africa. We welcome back to Real Talk Mr. Gerald Mwandiambira, and he's got a book. Ooh. So between July and now, you wrote a book.
Well, the book has been around, but yeah, it's been in the shops for the last 2 months, and yes, it's something I've been working on for a number of years, but it's nice to see it. It's actually in the flesh, and it's existing.
Did you tell us last time that you're going to write a book, or was it still like a secret?
The book was initially self-published, and now it's widely available at all the major bookstores, etc.
You see what coming onto the show does for you.
Oh, wow. you just have to claim all the credits.
You see, this is our work. Well done.
Yeah, well
SABC3. Well done, South Africa. And you know what? In return, you're going to give us that mind of yours when it comes to savings. I just want to rehash, what we spoke about the last time in case people didn't catch it. As South Africa, where are we in our savings personality?
Well, I think South Africa is now at a point where people are starting and very much aware of the need to save. We're still struggling with getting it to become a habit in terms of actually implementing savings plans and doing the deed itself. If you look at the numbers themselves in terms of personal savings or household savings compared to income, it's improved slightly, but it's improved largely because of the fact that most people who are highly indebted can no longer borrow. So it's translating into looking like people are saving more, but it's actually people can't borrow as much because since the National Credit Amendment Act came through, it's harder to get access to money, which is what is important right now, that people need to realize that the only thing, Anele, stopping you from saving is lack of an income. Otherwise, it's simply sheer willpower, discipline, and commitment to your savings plan.
You had a really good theory that you wrapped the show up with the last time when I asked you how do you, because I mean, to teach a 50-year-old to save is very difficult because saving is a muscle, you said. It's like you need to train it, right? And then I said, okay, fine, I've got a 2-year-old. How do I teach him to start saving? And you said he must get 3 piggy banks. Please run through that again. Okay,
the money box theory was really saying, let's teach children the principles of money. In the first money box or piggy bank, you teach them that whatever you put in here, mommy or daddy will double it every time your birthday comes around. That's the first one. The second one, we said that in this piggy bank, you design and want whatever you want. So it's a bicycle or a truck. You write what's on there, and then you put the money in there and you save it. The third money box or piggy bank, we said this is about giving, whether it's giving for religious purposes because you tithe, or whether it's just giving to less fortunate people. These 3 piggy banks represent 3 functions of money. The first one is investment, where if you have delayed gratification, you get a reward. So your hand in doubling that money represents the financial institution or bank which gives you interest income. So you've taught the child investment. The second one, you've taught them to save towards a specific goal. They can have as many of those as they want, but again, you've seeded savings. The third one is very important because until we start appreciating that we have more than someone else, we often beat ourselves up and we think that we don't have. When the 3 piggies are full, or when a piggy is full, you then take it to a bank, and the bank takes that piggy and issues the child with a magical card, and that magical card then the child can connect, because half the time when you're shopping these days, you're not even connecting the fact that there's money underlying behind us, and children can't connect to the money. So it's important we start doing those things, and that starts with children. As adults, we just need to start doing the hard and fast things, which are about spending money using the physical cash. Because the problem right now is that we don't touch enough of that.
Because we're always swiping, right? So you don't actually ever hold it in your hands and feel it leaving your hands.
Exactly. So money has become an intangible. So because it's intangible, people have lost emotional contact with it. Hence, they can spend it and lose it, and they don't feel the hurt or the pain. The day you start shopping again with real notes, you'll start realizing value again and appreciating what money is. Most people, if you ask them, name the 5 animals on the South African banknotes, they don't care. They don't know. Because they don't know.
Okay, so I like the three piggy banks for children. Let's say I'm a 28-year-old woman and I want to apply that piggy bank notion to my life. I've never saved. I realized that, you know, me thinking that I'm going to get married and the man who I marry is going to be in charge of my finances is not going to happen. It's now all looking at me. What's the first step? First
step is, again, either start having goals. So, for example, if you ask people who are watching the show right now, what did you buy in January 2017, February 2017, they can show an entire year of nothing or no physical asset tangibly in the house. So if you're struggling with saving, start by buying the tangibles. Buy an iron 1 month. Buy a kettle the next month. Buy a coffee machine. Buy things on lay-by. And because you are saving towards specific goals, you start seeing the manifestation of your behavior, which then makes it easy for you to save intangibly behind a bank. If you simply start doing it straight at the bank, sometimes as an adult, you struggle because there's no connection between you and a number, because you're not experiencing it. But if you've seen that this whole year, my house, I've replaced most of my appliances, my life is getting better, I bought forks, I bought glasses, things which just make it easier for you. The biggest concern right now, and the reason why we go crazy on Black Friday, is simply because we've gone and worked hard for the entire year and we have nothing to show for it. So what if I've saved the entire year so that I can go crazy at Black Friday? Awesome. That is exactly the behavior we want. We know Black Friday is coming next year. Let's be prepared for it. Save 1,000 Rand a month. You can go out and buy whatever you want. The problem we have right now is that on a day like today, people bought TVs, washing machines, big screen TVs without a thought in terms of appreciating what they were doing, because January and February, they'll feel the impact. And all the items bought on Black Friday are sale items, non-returnable. So there you go. It's yours. Like the impulse buy is now yours forever. Okay, on a personal note, and I know like when it comes to finances, you know, you don't want to get personal, you just want to give stats and facts and then leave. But on a personal note, what do you feel about Black Friday? Look, I think that it's a method in which retailers are trying to boost their sales. Retailers sell goods, and that's their business. And they will look for anything to help them sell goods, whether it's birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever you can label it, they will find an opportunity. The trick about Black Friday is, A, do you know that you really got a discount? Because unless you are planning to buy that big screen TV and knew the price from January till now, you have no idea what 25% or 30% of its value represents. You're just buying, it's a discounted price. So some retailers do the thing of hiking prices. The supermarkets give great value on Black Friday. So yes, shop up for the festive period, because they're trying to move stock, because they benefit from the economies of scale. So the more product they move, definitely it works well. So supermarkets, groceries, excellent time for you to stock up for the festive period. Unless you are saving for an item, please, you just need to hold it back. And the worst thing, Anele, is that Black Friday is no longer a day. It's an entire... It's a weekend. It's a week. Sometimes it's a week. It's a week. Some retailers have said we're Black Friday until next Friday. Black week.
So listen, there was a tweet that caused a whole lot of controversy. I'm going to take a quick ad break. When we come back, euphonic centered, and people are upset, some people agree, but I want you and I to decipher it and figure out, where we stand on that. With the country experiencing low levels of economic growth and a high unemployment rate, you might want to think twice before you go on your next unplanned shopping spree, right? My conversation with Gerald continues after the break, and he'll be joined by a representative from TransUnion. Who's TransUnion, you say? Yeah, you probably know them, just don't know who they are. Stay with Real Talk. Welcome back to Real Talk. So summer is here, and it's time for most South Africans to enjoy their hard-earned cash on presents. There's travel, there's parties, and all things festive. It might be fine to spoil yourself after a year of hard work, but let's not forget that there is life after December, boss. What are the consequences of taking up more credit than you can afford and ending up with a bad credit record? Acting CEO and Chief Strategist for the South African Savings Institute, Gerald, is here, and Mr. Lee Naik, CEO of TransUnion, joins us as we continue to talk about spending money sensibly during the holiday season. We welcome them both. Lee, TransUnion, now my friend used to work there, so I know who y'all are. But you please explain to us who TransUnion is. I understand you are one of 2 or 3 companies that do that in South Africa.
We're one of 5 large credit bureaus.
Okay.
We've been around for about 116 years. So not just you, but your friends, your family, your grandfather probably knew us as well. It is a brand called ITC, originally in South Africa. And essentially, it's a credit bureau that's become an information and risk services provider. So we're using data to help figure out what to do, helping inform decisions on whether to lend you money for your car, for your house, and also to tell the banks and the lenders whether you're behaving in terms of paying back those debts.
Could I call TransUnion to get my credit record so I can know where I stand?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you probably haven't. Like many other people, we have about 25 million credit active people, and only 5% actually get their free credit reports from us. That's scary, right?
Dude, that is totally scary. Do you think that, as I was welcoming the viewers back, it hit me. Do you think we have a reward, like personality as a country, where I've worked hard, therefore I deserve to spend money. So I've worked hard, so I deserve this debt, and I work hard anyway, which means I'll pay it off?
I think that is true. We have a culture of entitlement, and the reason why we've embraced Black Friday is simply because we love to shop. We're a consumer-driven economy, which is great, but the only problem is that most of our consumption is imported. So that doesn't really help our country directly. So what we need to realize is that we need to actually start doing the right things. As Lee is saying, because people aren't even looking at their credit report, it is directly correlated to the number of people who actually read their bank statements. Everyone who's credit active probably has a bank account, but many people don't start at the basic of reading their bank statement. So why would I then look up my credit profile?
Okay, Lee, I mean, I remember being in varsity and retail shops would call us, don't know where they got our numbers, and they're offering us, I mean, I'm in varsity, I'm in second year, my pocket money is 900 Rand a month, if I'm lucky, right? And you're getting offered 5,000, 10,000 credits from retailers and even banks giving us credit cards. Surely that should be illegal, because I'm not smart at 19 years old.
Well, it depends. I think different organizations have different appetites for risk. Now, what you're saying makes sense when it comes to larger purchases, maybe a TV or a fridge or maybe a car. But when it comes to maybe a retail purchase, giving you 5,000 Rand, maybe it is the risk appetite of the organization. Now, what's important to note is that as the kind of population becomes younger, we want to attract those to our stores. So you're going to find that some organizations are looking to appeal to you as a millennial or even as a Gen Z, saying, you know, come into my store, and they kind of whet your appetite to buy on credit as well.
Is it your responsibility to have campaigns that alert people when it comes to checking your credit rating? Or, for instance, before you open an account, before you get that credit card, you're forced to check your credit. Just like you'd have to, like, you know, when you go for an HIV test, you must sit for counseling. You know, is it your guys' responsibility, or is it that somebody else's baby, or maybe yours, Gerald? Well,
typically what happens is that when a lender gives you money or gives you access to a credit facility, they need to check your credit report according to the national credit regulations in the country. So that's their requirement. Now, the inverse is not necessarily true. So TransUnion, the regulator, the banks are all advertising proactive measures to call, get your free credit report. We have a massive contact center but people don't take the onus. But it's important to know why. And like Gerald says, we're scared to know the truth sometimes. It scares us that you may have a default, you may have a judgment, and not knowing, it may add bad behavior, but it may be really bad already.
Yeah, I know. I know the thing about being scared to look. You're like, I'm not gonna look, I'm not gonna look. So whose responsibility is then, Gerald, to have the campaigns? Yours?
Responsibility is actually your own as a person to
Oh,
actually
come
understand.
on.
No. Let's go to the basics. The reality is, when you enter into a credit contract, you're entering into it as an adult, and when you sign that contract, you are consenting and saying, I've read all the documents. Problem number one, people don't read the documents. They have no idea what interest rate they're paying. They just buy. Problem number two, we don't want to face up to the reality. And it's about looking at yourself in the mirror. It's the same thing with your physical being. Many people don't look at themselves in the mirror properly because we are afraid of what we see. And the credit report is the first step to you actually starting to do something about it. And it's important. It's like that day I get on the scale and I look at those numbers, I then make that decision to change. And we need to start making more of those decisions, starting by combing through our bank statement, finding all the surprises and the shocks and the horrors, getting our credit report, understanding what the world says about you. Because the credit report is really telling you how much are you worth to someone else. And it's important to do that. I did a credit report this week, and we got the shock of our lives on my wife's report, something which shouldn't have been there. And if you don't do that, you have no idea. Your credit standing is now very important, because even for employment, employers use it as a barometer to how trustworthy are you, how responsible are you. And the problem with money is that we all earn it, but actually it's a skill that we all need to learn. And yes, we can't blame the system. We need to start taking control.
All right, so this tweet that I was telling you about, sent by my very good friend Euphonic, about Black Friday. So listen to this. When I go beep, it's a swear word, so I'm not going to say that because I like my job. Euphonic, notice how there's no Black Friday for share options, property, loans, and mortgages. It's a trap. All the beep you should be putting your money into won't be on sale or available cheaper. Produce, don't consume.
I think that is a fair statement, because if Black Friday is really about getting the best deals, how come certain people are not offering deals? How come we don't say on Black Friday, this particular financial institution, if you deposit 10 Rand, we're going to add 20%, and it has to stay in the bank account. People will start saving. So it's about also having financial institutions which have enough foresight to see that this can actually be used in their favor. They're not doing it right now. Same thing with the share options, the property, etc. Why can't we do that? People will make the right decisions given the choices. And yes, I think Euphonic has hit a nail on the head to say, why aren't those institutions clever enough or thinking of ways to attract deposits? Because if I was going to get double the interest on money I deposit on Black Friday for a year, as long as it stays in that bank account, I am going to do it. But because I'm getting 50% off on a curved TV I don't really need, I'm more likely to do the wrong behavior.
But those curved TVs are good, though. Have you seen it?
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's like hugging your room. and it's nice to have, but let's do more planned behavior. And I think, Euphonic, I agree with you. Why are we not getting the wealth companies also helping out for us to make the right behavior? And yes, some of them are. There are now apps out there where when you spend money, they round the money up and they automatically deposit the extra amount into a savings account. That's how we're starting to get more default savings. Remember, we said we're horrible at doing it ourselves because we lack willpower. So let's automate. Let's use an app to help us. Let's use the debit orders. Let's talk to our employers, get them to give us that 13th check by default. We can help each other to get the country into better credit shape. But at the moment, we're not looking good. A lot of us who are credit active already have impaired credit. There's 3 trillion Rand worth of debt in South Africa.
Okay, wait, 3 trillion. What I like is you leaving, Gerald, but you and I leave. We're going to continue this conversation, specifically because, I mean, you work at TransUnion, and that's like a credit bureau, so you are privy to the stats. I feel like things like Black Friday target the lower LSMs, right? And I know you're going to have to personalize it a bit and give a bit of your opinion on top of your professional opinion, but we'll do that after the break. Right now, though, you are giving away 4 of these,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if you think Gerald is amazing and he's like the financial guru and you'd like to get his book, we're giving away 4 of these. Make sure that you tweet us at Real Talk on 3, also hashtag Real Talk with Anele, just with your questions and your comments when it comes to Black Friday, savings and finances in general in South Africa. Thank you so much, Mr. G, for having us, well, for us having him on the show again, and giving us advice on how we can save for the future and enjoy the rest of the holiday season responsibly. After the break, I'll continue my conversation with Lee Nike about the effects of having bad credit records. Stay with us. You're still watching Real Talk on SABC3, where the stage is yours. So everyone has their own approach to managing their finances. Some are budget-orientated. Yo, well done to you. Y'all are amazing. Really, you're the superheroes. While others are less committed to tracking their spending habits. Have you ever had a call from a call center agent urging you to pay a specific debt or risk having bad credit record? Well, Mr. Lee Nike, the CEO of TransUnion Africa, is still here to help us understand how we can manage our credit better. Okay, the first thing I wanted to ask you, I feel like with Black Friday, these specials from that tweet that your friend sent, is that bonds and mortgages and share options, guys, those are for the higher LSM. So obviously Black Friday is like they're looking at the lower LSM to move quick, movable goods. Am I making that statement up in my head?
Well, it depends. I think in the digital world, it's different. The fact that you can now buy these specials online, via website, via phone, kind of changes the game. If you have a smartphone, then suddenly the middle LSMs want to go after those deals as well. But largely, we are consumer-based economies, so getting traffic into the retail stores, getting people to buy cars is part of what drives our economy. So anything to get people into the stores and off your couch to buy stuff, it's good for the economy. So that's kind of largely why Black Friday works. People want to spend, and if they're saving for the entire year, in most cases you can spend, but if you're not saving, then it could be a bad idea.
So working for TransUnion, you've got the stats on your side. Who is more in debt, men or women?
I think it's a balance, actually.
Really? Oh,
I think
thank
it's a
God.
balance.
I thought it was us.
What I can tell you, we have about 55 million people in the country.
Yeah.
Over 25 million are active credit people, right? I mentioned earlier that only 5%, or 600,000 people, actually know what's on their credit report. Now, that's the scary part. Because if you called us on a number, on a contact center, you logged into the website, you could get this free of charge. So knowledge is, in fact, power. But as a people from South Africa, we don't trust. We don't want to know sometimes.
It's like the ostrich syndrome. If I hide my head in the sand, I think you can't see me.
But it's scarier than that, because while you're hiding your head, one of those lenders that you owe money to may flag you as a defaulter, and even worse, they may flag a judgment against you, meaning your future ability to get access to credit is actually diminished.
If I have a judgment against me, how long before I take it off? Is it when I paid off, then it's off my record, or is there a specific amount of time, like I'm penalized, like cool-off period, you can't lend?
Well, typically what happens when a lender has to go to the court to get this judgment against you, it's a fair bit of effort. They don't really want to do it, but if they go and get the judgment, it's typically in perpetuity. But typically we as the bureaus keep it on your record for 5 years. So it's a difficult thing to get off. And when you have judgments, it means that a lot of other things have fallen out of place, meaning to recover, to get that judgment off, will require even more effort when you had just one bad thing against your name and your head was in the sand at the same time.
If I am married to somebody who's got a judgment or has bad credit, could I be blocked from getting a loan or like something because of his judgments?
Your personal credit reports about you, the individual.
Yeah.
If you are with your partner or with some other individual buying together in a collective, then that can be used to affect your joint ability to access credit. But you individually, what you do in your personal capacity affects your personal credit report.
So what you're saying is, me personally, I'm fine, I can go after the things that I want, but if I had to be wanting to buy a house then with my partner, then we've got problems.
That's right, especially if that person has a judgment or has several defaults against them. Having a judgment doesn't necessarily mean you won't get access to finance. It means it's much more risky as seen by a lender.
So the interest rate will be higher?
Well, you could be blocked completely because you're seen as a risky customer. We've seen customers that have 10, 20, 25 judgments against their names. So they've been so stuck in the sand, they haven't seen this going to come down their way. And to recover in LA is a very difficult thing.
Okay, but come on now. Who are these people giving me money still if I've got 20 judgments against me? How did I get to 20? How am I getting to 25?
Well, remember, you can get credit in many ways. It could be a retail card, it could be a bank card, it could be a vehicle.
But are they not calling you to ask you what type of a payer back I am?
Now, while you're paying your credit, you're paying your debt every month, it's fine.
Yeah.
But once you stop paying, we call these lazy payers. Once this lazy payer behavior starts, it actually can snowball. So you may be really good, and 1 month you're missing your first payment. Now you're missing 2. Suddenly you're missing all of them because you've gone on holiday somewhere. And that's what you're going to try and mitigate. So you want to keep paying your credit. Having a lot of credit facilities doesn't make you a bad individual. Your ability to service your debt, right, is what the banks and the lenders are looking for.
How many payments must I miss before I am like flagged as a default payer?
Correct. So we have something we call an early defaulter.
Okay.
So if you don't pay your account for a month, you'll get a reminder. If you don't pay your account for 3 months and things are getting serious, it's what we call a non-performing loan. So in the first 2 or 3 months, you're getting those gentle reminders, but after 3 months, you're becoming a risk for the bank or for that lending organization. Now, after those first few months when things are getting serious, then the bank, depending on where they are, if they have lots of people that aren't paying, then they may say, okay, Anele, we reminded you many times, maybe we need to take more serious action because it's a big amount of money, and they may go and try and get a judgment against you. But the idea is not to get a judgment, the idea is to get you to pay your debts off in the right way, in the right behavior. And if you don't, Anele, the consequences can be dire. Not having access to credit can inhibit you from getting a house, a car, from just keeping alive as a human to service your normal needs in your household.
Are there default accounts that would never land me on the blacklist? Like, for instance, I don't know if you're allowed to speak about e-tolls. I mean, if the e-toll people call us and they threaten us, you'll be blacklisted. I'm like, then blacklist me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, are there certain things where, you know, they can threaten us, but I mean, we're not going to get blacklisted?
Well, let me say it this way. You need to look at the lenders. People that lend you money, as opposed to paying off a bill that may not be linked to a lender. You see?
Okay.
So if you link it to someone lending you their money.
So if somebody who actually gave me their money
to
and
buy
now,
a car, to buy a fridge, that's
Okay.
the way to see it. And those are the individuals that have taken out a facility to give you their money or give you their product. Now they are short on their balance sheet. They need their money in, right?
Okay. And then one of the tweets that came through is, if my parents have a bad credit record, could that hinder me in getting a student loan?
It depends if they're the guarantor or not, right? So the student loan typically requires a guarantor to underwrite the risk of you getting that student loan. So it does depend. If your parents are those guarantors, it could possibly affect it. The bank could look at different risks depending on how good a student you are, right? But equally so, you could have another family member underwriting as a guarantor for your student loan. So once again, it does depend. What's important to know that your personal credit report is about you, the person, not about your family, not about your dependents.
As an individual.
You follow how you protect yourself. You can't control what other people do.
Yeah.
You've got to make better calls as to who you hang out with.
Okay. And then finally, can I call you guys and to get my credit scoring, and can I get somebody else's credit scoring?
You cannot get somebody else's credit score.
How do businesses do it then? They have an account with you.
So as a credit provider, right, that gives credit away, you fall under the auspices of the National Credit Regulator. So they are allowed to check on you. Now, when you call us, we need to validate that Anele is in fact Anele. So we are very strict. It will be very difficult with you to reset your password, check it who you are. But it's not difficult. 0861 482 482 for people that want to talk to us. Now, I must stress this. People don't like talking to credit bureaus because you're scared already. And the guys that call us are normally already in trouble. So now we've done a couple of things. You can go online, transunion.co.za for guys that have internet access. What we found, though, that hasn't helped much. So now we said, let's go USSD. Everybody's topping up with airtime.
Okay.
Right? So we have a star code, *120 *8801 hash. You can get the same non-human experience because that is a more comfortable way.
It's like SMSing.
It's
to figure out,
SMSing.
well, okay, I like that. You
So it's
put in
easier
your
way.
ID number and everything there.
And what's scary is that facility is actually paid for. It costs a bit more to render that service. People are prepared to pay a few rands to get it via USSD than to call us for free once a year to get their credit report.
It's because we don't want to hear the sigh. This is a sigh. The Miss Mdota, you like Istan, Ngenzen. Okay, listen. Thank you so much for coming through. I want the number again: 0861 481 481.
0861 482 482.
Okay. If you want to get hold of TransUnion to see what your credit is looking like, I suggest all of us do that to see where we stand, because then we're going to make better financial decisions for ourselves. So the festive period is full of promotional messages that encourages consumers to take up credit with an option of paying it off in the new year. It is wise to look at what you can afford before you are tempted to take up any unplanned debt. We thank Mr. Naika so much for informing us. Look, I'm expecting my next guest, and I'm wondering if he's going to make it by the time we're back for the ad break. I heard that he's coming in on some machine or whatever. Let's check in to see where he is. Where is he?
I better get out of here. I've got to get to the Real Talk studios.
And welcome back to Real Talk on SABC3. My guest has arrived safely, but let me tell you a little bit about him. The story of how he started in business and how he got where he is today is a lesson in sheer persistence and not accepting the status quo. He lives by the mantra, brilliance or nothing. This approach in life navigated him to conclude one of the biggest transactions in South Africa when he sold a business that he built along with his childhood friend for just over 2 billion rand. His business acumen speaks for itself, and his accolades include the 2014 CNBC All Africa Business Leader Award, Entrepreneur of the Year, the 2015 Sanlam Business Partner Awards, and the Ernst & Young Southern African World Entrepreneur Award in 2016, not to mention a few. Mr. Ran Nir, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anele.
You know your surname is like a...
It's complicated.
It's a thing,
it's not simple.
It's like
simple.
a thing. Like,
but it's not the first time you've said it, so by now you should be singing it.
I still judge myself, eh? I'm still like, oh, it's like, you know, like a speed bump. You know it's there. But you forget to go down to 40. Just so you can go slowly and then accelerate.
Slow down.
Then I'm like, Mr.
Noina.
Noina. Neurosurgeon. Listen, I want to talk to you quickly. Bring people up to speed as to, you know, what have you done. Basically, the big building, when you're driving on the, is it the M1?
Yes.
There's a building that looks like a spaceship. If ever you come to Joburg, you're not Joburg based, right by Melrose Arch, there's a big building, looks like a spaceship, looks like it's about to take off at any given second. That's his building. That's Creative Council. Him and his friend, they started that, and look, now you're here. But I want to talk to you about, I heard you were investing money in startups. Why that? Are you going all philanthropic on us? Are you becoming Richard Branson?
Philanthropy is part of it, but it's not really why I do it. I love business. I think business is like a drug. I think that when you have a successful business, there's no high that can be better than the success of entrepreneurship. And I want to give that to everybody. And especially in South Africa, you know, I've got a very soft spot for young black entrepreneurs, because I think that the atrocities of the past created this generational entrepreneurial void. You know, in the early days, I used to listen to my parents and learn how to be an entrepreneur. But I understand that some people didn't have that luxury because of what happened here. And I think as successful business people, we have to use our credibility to give back. And the way that I want to give back is I want to invest in young, naturally entrepreneurially talented black entrepreneurs, and really give them the same high that I had with less bumps, maybe.
Okay, so now, there we go. I'm glad you said the bumps, because you say you got... You know, you get on the high when it's a successful entrepreneurship project, right? Do you get the same high when it's not successful?
You know, my analogy is a very simple analogy. Whenever people talk about wanting to be an entrepreneur, it's because they've seen successful entrepreneurs and they say, hey, I want to be like him. But the truth is that what they're seeing is they're seeing like the top of a mountain. You know, like when you look at a mountain and there's just snow on top. They're not seeing all the black underneath. Now, when we celebrate as entrepreneurs, we celebrate when we reach the top of the mountain. But that top comes after months and years of climbing and falling and climbing and falling. I can say to you that the ratio for me of losses to successes is I probably lose 10, make 1. But as an entrepreneur, what you've got to do is you've got to develop a methodology of celebrating both failures and success.
Okay.
Now, how can you celebrate a failure?
Teach us how.
You need to understand that failure comes as a result of taking risks. And people only take risks when they go places that no one else has gone. So if you're going to go somewhere that no one else has gone and you're going to fail, then you're actually driving progress. If you want to go where everyone else has gone, then yeah, you'll probably succeed because you have a roadmap. But if you want to try something new, it means that you have to take a chance. Now, out of 10 chances that you'll take, you'll fail 9 times. But that one time where you make it, it's the best high in the world.
Can entrepreneurship be taught?
Yes, very much so. I think you have to be naturally a risk-seeking person.
Okay.
So, you know, like people that are not the risk seekers,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship's not for them.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because the world needs everyone.
The balance.
But some of us get a high from that rush, that going out there, not knowing what the day holds. You know, some people go to work, they know exactly, 9 o'clock I do this. I go to work, even today where I'm, you know, at the end of my life cycle with Creative Council. And for me, every day is an adventure, because I never know what I'm going to do, and I never know what I'm going to see.
You see, my cry is social media can be like, actually like entrepreneurship, it can be really good or really bad. Because, you know, there's always these, you know, become an entrepreneur or somebody else is going to hire you to make their dreams come true. And I think it's such a dangerous message to send, especially like to people who are molding their minds and coming up into the business world, because ultimately you can follow your dream and make other dreams come true by being under the umbrella of employment, right?
You don't become people want to become an entrepreneur for 2 things.
Yeah.
For money and for freedom.
Okay.
What they don't understand is the cost that comes with that money and that freedom.
Yeah.
The stress. You know, let's say I've got 1,000 people working for me today. I've got just under 1,000 people working for me today. Do you know that every night when I go to sleep, I think about the 1,000 people that are working for me? And if I make a stupid decision, it impacts 1,000 people that are working for me. Now, that pressure, that struggle is real. That pressure is real. So do you want that responsibility on your shoulders? Or do you rather not want to have that stress in your life? And that's really the decision that entrepreneurs need to make, whether they want to do that or not.
Would you ever work with an entrepreneur who hasn't failed?
I prefer not to. No, I would never. I want the guys that have tried and failed. You know what the problem is? Say you have your first entrepreneurial venture and you're successful. What do you learn? Nothing. You never learn anything from success. You learn one thing. It's called arrogance. Ooh. Because then you think you're untouchable.
Yeah, and you learn how to pick a Ferrari.
Exactly. But when you get the guys that have tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed, those are the guys that have many lessons. I always talk about, you know that they talk about the hockey stick graph in entrepreneurship. It's that you start out and you go negative, 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 and then eventually you turn and you start going positive towards the sky.
Yeah.
The graph doesn't look like that. The graph looks like this. And most people can't make the down parts. So you've got to ride the down parts. And the more you ride the down parts, the more character you build. And the more character you build, the quicker you can get up when you fall. My analogy is very simple. How many times have you heard of these singers, musicians, superstars, soccer players who made a lot of money at the age of 18? And then you read in the newspaper, 30 years old, they're insolvent.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, you had so much money.
Yeah.
You never built character. You never went up and down and up and down and up and down. That's the problem.
And that's why, you know, I think when it comes to following your example, when it comes to Hollywood, like the sports stars, you know, the singers and the actors, they're like Mickey Rourke, you know, his comeback, he's back, you know. Whereas in business, you never celebrate it also when you come back. It's just like, yeah, let's see how long this lasts. You know, he squandered the other billion, you know, let's see what he does with it now.
Exactly. You have to go through the character curve. And we in South Africa, we don't celebrate failure. And it's a big mistake that we make.
actually laugh at it and we ridicule it, and we kind of ostracize people who fail.
So what are we doing? We're ostracizing the people that are promising to try and change the world for us. And we're celebrating the people that take the easy route, that succeed. You should celebrate, you know, the guy that fails. Celebrate him. Because that means he's trying to get the world into somewhere that the world hasn't been before. Look, if the guy keeps making the same mistake and falling, stop celebrating.
Okay, so you said something about when you go to bed, you think about the just under 1,000 people that work for you, and if you make a stupid decision, you know, it's all on you.
Yeah.
We're going to take an ad break. When we come back, finally, and I love this because I love you, and you've always made sense to me, Ran. You are going to explain this Bitcoin cryptocurrency thing to me. Oh, there we go. And here's the thing, is that to me, it's like one stupid decision there and it's over, right?
Maybe, but we'll talk about it.
Okay, all right. After the break, Ryan will continue to share his pearls of wisdom. And if you're still confused about how cryptocurrencies really work and how the blockchain technology is changing the world, he will shed some light on this intriguing topic, but he's going to speak to me like I'm stupid. I heard that.
Ideas can fuel our collective consciousness, feed our souls, and define our humanity. Or they simply do nothing. Because an idea is only an idea until you make it happen. Why do so many ideas simply never happen?
Ideas need to be crafted, nurtured, protected, fought for. And happen has to be built into their very DNA.
Welcome back to Real Talk on SABC3. We're still seated with the co-CEO of the Creative Council Group, Mr. Ran Near. The serial entrepreneur's passion to assist up-and-coming businesses is evident that he started the Branson Mentorship Incubation Program, where he recently pledged 50 million rand to assist young and up-and-coming entrepreneurs. Okay, just say your surname.
Noi, na. Slow down, watch the speed bump. Noi, na.
Ran, Noi, na. I'll never get it wrong again. Ran, Noi, na. Now I'm wasting your time. Let's talk Bitcoin.
Let's talk Bitcoin.
From the beginning.
From the beginning. So, imagine that there were no banks. Imagine that if I wanted to transfer money between me and you, all I could do is transfer money, and instead of a bank record, because what does a bank actually do?
It keeps my money for me.
And records the transaction.
Yeah.
But why can't you just keep your money on your phone, in a wallet? Why do you need a bank? Why can't you just store it on your phone?
So could my employer pay me my money to my phone?
Correct.
What app, what facility is on my phone?
You would need to get a Bitcoin wallet,
okay,
or a cryptocurrency wallet. But for now, let's only talk Bitcoin.
Okay.
And then, if I transferred money to you, I would send you a Bitcoin instead of sending you money, and you could cash the Bitcoin for money. That way, we wouldn't need a bank to sit between us when we do financial transactions. So now, it sounds a bit complicated, but
it's actually getting easier than what was explained to me the other day.
say you've got a relative who's in Kenya.
Yes.
And you want to send this relative money now. What do you have to do? You have to go to Western Union or to the bank. And you go to Western Union and you say...
It's a schlep, actually.
It's a schlep. And how many commissions do you pay on the way? To Western Union, to the...
But are those rules not there for... to make sure that we're not taking money out of the country illegally?
Yes, there are those rules, but a lot of it is just commission. So if you want to send 100 Rand from Johannesburg to Kenya to Nairobi today, the person in Nairobi will only get about 90 bucks. Why? Because everyone has to get their cut. And they have to swap the money from South African Rand to dollar and from dollar back to Kenyan shillings or whatever the currency is there. What if you just sent them a currency from your phone to their phone, no bank in the middle?
Okay, who regulates then?
It's unregulated. That's the beauty of it.
But that means that I can then start a Bitcoin account as a cash heist king here.
Yes.
And then the next thing, I've got 5 billion, and then I send it to my chomies in Egypt, and then the money's left.
So on the blockchain, which is the technology that actually powers Bitcoin, so the technology, you can see every transaction, but you don't know who's holding the coins. But let me go one step back. If everybody was using a currency like Bitcoin, why would there ever be cash heists, or what would they steal? Because the reason why people have cash heists is because there's cash. But if the Bitcoins are stored in a wallet, and the wallet is stored somewhere in the cloud,
and only I have the passwords.
Only you have the passwords. Then can money ever be stolen?
So I could buy a house using Bitcoin.
Today you can buy a house. People have bought yachts. You can buy a house today in Ukraine with Bitcoin without losing any exchange rate losses or whatever else. Let me give you some cool stats. Bitcoin was launched on the 31st of October, or the 30th of October, 2008. If you would have put 600 Rand into Bitcoin in 2008, how much money would it be worth today? 600 Rand.
480,000.
A bit more.
600,000.
2.8 billion.
No, man.
2.8 billion. So if you would have put 600 Rand in Bitcoin, not touched the Bitcoin, today that 600 Rand would be worth 2.8 billion. You know why? Because today, there are only 16.5 million Bitcoin around the world. And everybody wants one.
You see, that's what I don't understand. So let's say then we all join this Bitcoin world, but there's only limited ones. Then my arms are folded and I look like keeping in the dance when no one wants to dance with me.
But you don't have to buy a full one. You can buy 0.1 or 0.01. You can spend 10 Rand on Bitcoin, or 5 Rand, or 500 Rand. If you want to buy one full Bitcoin, a full Bitcoin today will cost you about 125,000 Rand.
Okay, so you are saying that Bitcoin is a new currency, but why does Bitcoin still need to operate with my money? Why must I use money to buy this currency if this currency wants to exist by itself?
You don't have to. There are other ways to earn Bitcoin. It's a whole long discussion, and I don't want to confuse you. It's called mining. So remember I said to you that when I transfer money to you, there's no bank in the middle.
Yes.
Instead of a bank, what people do is they connect their own computers to confirm the transaction. So imagine if I transferred money to you, we needed to record the transaction somehow.
Yes.
So what we did was we got 100 different people to record the transaction for us.
As like they're witnesses.
Witnesses.
That you transferred money to.
Correct.
Aha.
So there'd be some record of it, but it wouldn't sit on a central computer in a bank. Those witnesses earn a transaction fee. And how do we get the transaction fee? Instead of me and you paying it, the system just issues more Bitcoins. And that's how you can earn more Bitcoins, by just confirming transactions. But that's a whole discussion for a whole other show. That's called mining.
You're going to New York. When you come back, please come back so we can discuss it. But you've done better than...
Have I done better?
You have.
I've done better.
I now realize that Bitcoin is just a stockfell that went to a private school.
You got it. It's a stockfell. It's a stockfell.
It's a stockfell. And the thing about stockfell is billions of it operates in South Africa, and that money never sees the bank.
Exactly.
And yet our mothers flourish from keeping the stockfell here.
You know the book in the stockfell, the journal?
Yeah.
Imagine if there were 100 journals all recording the transactions. You got it.
That's all you guys are just saying, man. Just a stockfell, this thing. Listen, what an episode. Thank you so much to Gerald Mwandiambira and Lee Naik for their insight on holiday spending and improving the country's debt behavior. Mr. Ran Noiner. Thanks for an inspirational talk and being an example that tenacity and hard work pays off. It's goodbye from us. We'll see you on Monday, 5 p.m. SABC 3. Don't be late. No.